In Chapter eight's video segment, I'd like to focus on how to cause PHP to change a page based on server-side functionality, and then how to bring in a little bit of jQuery and make it look nice. So let's get started. In this segment, what we're going to do is create a PHP page and make it give us a bulleted list of images based on the images that exist in this folder. And this is part of the chapter in the book. And in fact, in the book, it goes a lot deeper than what we're about to do here. First thing we need to do is create a new PHP page. So, interestingly enough, we can always use Dynamic Web Template to create the page. And then we can do save as, and then we'll call it chapter 8.php. And it'll save it. We'll change this H1 to slideshow. And we'll grab the content below this and eliminate it. There's an awful lot of content. Let's grab it from here. Come back to there. I want to turn this paragraph into an unordered list. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to use PHP to come back to me with a bulleted list of all of the images in that folder. Now, to save us from having to type all the PHP, I'm going to copy a little bit of the code that we use in Chapter 7. And in Chapter 8. In Chapter 8, we go much further than this, but what we need for right now is this. So we'll click copy, we'll come back to here, get that list item in the middle, and do insert PHP code block. It should have taken out that, but it didn't. No big deal. And then we'll paste our code in there. Our next step, save it and test it. Now when this spins up, it's going to start in the Expression Development Server. If you haven't installed PHP for the Expression Development Server, make sure that you do. You'll find information on how to do that in the previous chapter. So here it is. Those are the pictures in an unordered list. And they're based on files in this images folder, gallery 1. And you can see in the code that we're asking for gallery 1, and we're using some PHP to write the contents of that into the bulleted list. What we'll do is when we come back, we'll add a little bit of jQuery, which is also in this files folder that comes with a sample site, and we'll use UL slide. It's actually pretty interesting. So when we come back, we'll add the jQuery. So now that we return to the slideshow project that we were working on, the next step is to add jQuery. And the reason I came back with a bulleted list and decided to set it up this way is because I found this really neat little jQuery plugin called UL Slide. Basically, the idea is it'll take any bulleted list and turn it into a slideshow. And often when you find one of these jQuery plugins, they're not all that heavy on documentation. I recommend that you just import it into your website so that you have their folder, open it up, and see what they've got in it. And in this case, it's this. Look at this in the browser. And so what we can tell, if we close this out and take a look at what we have in here, is this is example one, and it's in an unordered list called slide one. You'll have to remember the slide one, and you can see to do another one, they have slide two. So the other thing in a jQuery project is you'll see links to the jQuery library. This one is to make the mouse wheel have certain interactions with the slideshow. And then this one is the slideshow plugin itself. And then this little bit of JavaScript here is to provide the variables that it will use. So what we're going to do is we'll come back to Directory Iterator, and I want to just grab this because this is the script tags that we just looked at, but they're path adjusted for where we actually have our files. So we'll copy them. We'll come back to Chapter 8 PHP. We'll get up into the head section. Well, best practice is to leave that in. Let's put it here. Okay? And then the next thing is we'll go back down to our unordered list. Slide one. Save it, and we'll preview this in a browser. See how that looks. And you can see as the page begins to load up, the JavaScript loaded, and there's our little slideshow, which looks a lot nicer than the bulleted list that we were working with before. Now, if we want to make further improvements or just further changes, we can drop that out, come back to this, and what we don't have is the previous, next, and back buttons. So let's select them in the design view. Oop. Select them in the design view and copy them. It's just a list of links. We'll come back to our chapter page, and underneath slideshow there's a paragraph. We'll set our insertion point inside of there, and then we'll remove this because we don't need to have the example one text. Come back one more to balance out that pipe character, and let's see what we've got. We've got a next and previous button. Let's save it, preview it, and see what we get. So it comes in as a bulleted list. In the real world, this is much faster and the page doesn't take that long to load. Let's go previous. Oh, and so there it worked. Next. Now let's see what the mouse wheel does. I'm going to scroll this mouse wheel and see if that works. It doesn't seem to. But what we could always, oh yes it does. If you set the focus on the slideshow, you can roll your mouse wheel up or back through the images. That's pretty neat. If you didn't want that functionality or didn't want to put instructions to the user, because if you don't tell them there's no way they're going to know, you can just eliminate this line of code right here, which is the mouse wheel script. And so like if we killed that off and then went back to the page, the behavior would vanish. And so based on nothing more than a little bit of code and the files within this folder, you have a working slideshow. And to add a picture to the slideshow, you don't have to do anything except add a picture to that folder, and it will automatically be updated with all the images that the PHP turns into a bulleted list. The bulleted list will be turned into a nice slideshow by the jQuery, and you've combined the best of both worlds, a little server side, a little client side, and you've created something that's a durable piece that you can use over and over, especially if you check out the chapter text, because we actually break this down and then include it as a PHP include file, which is also very easy. You can always do insert PHP include, and it'll ask for the include file, and then we add variables, so you can direct it instead to this folder, or ask for a different type of gallery within the jQuery plugin. So there's lots of stuff you can do, and the chapter gets a little bit deeper. I just wanted to show you how quick and easy it is. I think it might have taken 4 or 5 minutes start to finish to do this, and to go from basically nothing but a folder and a little code to a neat slideshow. And like I said, the pages load much faster in the real world. You can go to the end or to the beginning and all through them. And it's self-updating too. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that, and it makes you want to dig into the topic a little bit deeper.